Okay, today we're going to be going over the I-21 General Ledger. When we do the conversion, we're going to be bringing over your historical records. So anything that you had previously will be brought over to answer your question, Cheryl. So you can see this is a example of what would happen with your data that we did. We have all these journal entries, and let's see. Let's go find one at the bottom. Trying to see if anything came over. It looks like they all came over as journal entries that were, a full journal entry, and it wasn't just the balances. Depending on how you close years, sometimes we bring just a entry that's just balances, but it looks like for this one we're on, bringing over, if you had an AP journal entry, all these AP transactions, they're all grouped together and put into this journal entry. You'll also notice that they are posted in this column right here. They're posted on the first day of the month that they were in, because in Origin we ran, it was, the postings were based on periods, and in I-21 were based on dates. So we just go with the first day of the month, and then we'll still be able to run our financials and get the same results as we did previously. So you good with that, Cheryl, on the?
Yeah, I'm just thinking when you say in the I-21 we're going by dates, not by month end. It'll still capture in the month that it's supposed to, correct?
Correct, yeah. See, the thing though is that technically you could run, this is probably not a great example, but you could run your balance sheet, in the middle of the month. You might not have your inventory numbers squared away by there, but that's just an example. If you ran it in the middle of the month, you could run it for, say, June 15th, and it would just capture those first 15 days of the month. And I guess maybe like a P&L type idea might be a little bit more realistic.
Okay,
And then
question, Cody. With a new 21, then, if for some reason you wanted information that crossed periods, so in other words, if I wanted to see information from the 15th of April through the 15th of May, would I be able to pull information like that?
yes, you would.
Or does it have to stay within the period?
You could pull it from June 15th to July 15th, as long as that's only from the point you convert onward. So you couldn't pull it. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't really do you any good if you pulled from, the 15th to the 15th from your converted data from, say, earlier this year. But like,
No, I'm saying from going forward.
Yep. So you could do that. You could do 15th to the 15th. Yep. So that's what that whole posting per date means. It's not really posting to a period, and we're not restricted to just looking at a period.
Okay, but yet for the financials, it does post, the whole month of May from the 1st to the 31st is in that first period or 12th period, whatever.
Yeah, for the Origin stuff. Yep, the stuff we're bringing over.
Okay. Right, for the Origin, but also for the I-21, for the sequel. In other words, our periods will still remain. The month of June is our first period for the fiscal year.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and so when we go over the fiscal year, we'll see that. So,
okay, good.
Yep.
All right, I'm clear on that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so on this grid, and you'll see these grids throughout the whole system, but you'll see the filter up here, which will allow us, if we put in the filter right there, we'll be able to type in, say, AP 7077. And that's going to bring up this record. Now, the one thing I want to say about this filter up here is that if we had AP 7077 in, let's say, one of these other fields, maybe the description, instead of the record number, it might have AP 7077, it's going to find it. So it's going to search all columns that we have here. And alternatively, you might want to, not search this record number and you just really want to only find in the description. So you can right-click description, hit filter, and this goes for any of these columns. You can just right-click them and say contains rosinth. And that's going to give us anything with the description rosinth. And so that's going to be, throughout here you can, anytime you see these grids, this is going to be something you can do. One thing then that's nice is that, let's just do it for an example. We'll go over here and hit posted, and we'll filter that for no. So posted equals no. Look, it looks like everything's posted, so that's good. And if we always, if we want to check, monthly, say at the end of the month, we want to make sure everything is posted and before we go forward. So instead of having to go in here and do posted every single time and, do it like this, we can click this layout button and hit save as, and we'll just say unposted, hit OK. And now let's go back, default. Now when we would come in here, we could just hit layout and go back to this one we just created, unposted, and it'll create it for us. And we can do that with a lot of different criteria. So that's, that becomes really nice. And we can also do display as tab, which is going to create a new tab up here of what we just did. Now, what that really helps for is that these grids start to become reports for us. So let me go to an example. Let's just get rid of that one. And let's go to here, details. So a little bit of background on this details tab. This details tab is a list of every single line in the journal entries. So these journal entries, each one of these records tell you the header information, the record number, the description, total debits and credits and post date. Within each journal entry, there's, say there's 10 lines. Well, this details tab allows us to see every single line and every single journal entry, and it allows us to filter those. So then let's say that we were looking for records that contained ag, and we'll just say date filter is between 03/01/2016. Oops. Let's try that again. Between and 03/31. Oops. 31/2016. So we just wanted everything that. Yep, and so then but it contains ag. We could even get, you could start going even further and say, but I only want to see what hit that for account 60130-03, and then we've got this. So that's really nice, is that we can, do this. We could even save that as a, we'll call it's a layout, but we could say, we could call it a report, because what we could do here is go up here to export and then do Excel, PDF, or text. I'm going to do PDF because I don't think there's Excel on the server. A lot of times, though, this is really nice to put into Excel. I'm just going to throw this into PDF so we can view it. And exactly what we have on the screen, it's going to create a PDF of it. And it's also, what's really nice, is it's also going to give us the filters that we were running it by, which allows you to, if you print it off, you can completely recreate this.
Mm-hmm. So the good thing with that is, if I need to look up a journal entry, then I can see both accounts, the debit and the credit accounts that it was posted to.
Yeah, exactly. And
because right now, if I drill down in Origin, I only see the account number that I'm looking at when I do a inquiry. I don't see the other side of the journal entry.
Right. And so, going back here to viewing the journal entries, so we're back on the general journal tab, which is our header information. If we found a journal entry, so let's just say we want this AP7902, I double-clicked it. That's how I generally do it. That's one of the two ways we can open it up. So then we can open it up and we can see all of this is everything that happened in this journal entry. And we even have, as you scroll over, some of the reference and document information. Some of this information might be blank when it's coming from Origin, but, for AP, it tends to use a lot of that information over there.
Okay.
So
that's good. I like that. Shows you the expense account numbers and everything, cash account numbers. So that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, and let's say that this isn't super big, but let's say it is, because sometimes you'll have these huge entries that come over from Origin. Again, we have this filter up here, that I just want to highlight, and you could just do, search for one account, and then, so that's when, these grids are very, they're used throughout, they're part of the framework. So we'll just go ahead and go in here and enter a journal entry. So what I did is up here you'll see new. So we'll just hit new, and that's going to create a blank journal entry. We can, we'll change this post date. We'll just say 5/31.
And when you put in the post date, it knows the period number.
Correct. Yeah, and we don't even really, the period number in I-21 isn't really a, something that we worry about, because we know, I'll show you the setting where it's set at, but we don't really, worry about it, just because that's, it's all date driven. So then we can put in a reverse date. I won't do it on this one. The reverse date would then create a second journal entry. I can go over that after this, but I'll just do a simple one here, and we'll just say move expenses. Maybe a wrong expense account was used on an invoice or something. So we'll go in here, and let's see. So basically, we'll come down here, and we're going to put in our account ID. What you saw there is I don't know the chart of accounts. So, but I do know that if I type in expense, it's going to search, and it's going to look at all my expense accounts, and I'll be able to just pick one of these expense accounts. You can, in this search up here, again, it's much like the other grids, where you can just search anything out of any of these options. So, if you just knew the description, if we just knew the description here, we can just type in contract and then click it. That's going to choose our account ID. Then we'll just put in $100 debit. And again, we'll just do this. Okay, so we've got a balanced journal entry. One thing I want to make note of is we went over those layouts, but a great application of that I like to look at is when you're entering journal entries, a lot of times you just want to use your keyboard, and tab through stuff. And, when you're tabbing through and you have to go through debit units, credit units, document reference, you might not really need all of those when you're just making a quick manual journal entry. So what I like to do is I like to go over here, and I like to right click, and I go to columns, and I uncheck debit units. And what that's going to do is now debit units are gone, or you can right click and hit hide.
Yeah, I was going to say you can just hide the column, right?
Yep, so we can just hide, let's just hide all these. And then we'll just go up here and save as entry. And this goes for, even when we get to AP, these are going to be things that you can do. Make this entry much, quicker, so you can then tab through, and it's done as soon as you're done with credit. So there we go. So now that's done, I'm going to hit save. Let's see. Let's just hit post.
I can't hear you, Jan.
Let me try again. It said unable to save due to reference violation, which sec. 418. Gotcha. Okay, so that's something that I just need to upgrade TE for. I forgot that this is going to count. When it does that, it's not going to allow me to save because of a reference violation. So actually, I might be able to.
On the record number, do we assign that or does the computer assign that?
This is going to be assigned on save, and it's going to be GJ dash and then the next number that's in line. So if it's, if you've already done 500, it's going to be 501, GJ dash 501.
Okay.
Okay, and then let me.
And that is an ongoing number. It doesn't start over again because it is date driven, correct?
Correct. Yep. Or yeah, it's just increments. Basically whatever the increment is. I'm going to go over here. I'm just gonna, because I know I can do this. I can take a record and I can duplicate it, and it's going to just create the exact same record, and we're just going to call it test entry, and then we're going to hit save. So now that it's saved, you'll see that we get this GJ-14.
Okay.
Yep, so that's what it's going to automatically do for us. And when it's saved and not posted, you'll have this post button. If it's saved, all it's doing is just sitting out there. It's not hitting any GL accounts. When you hit post...
Okay, so you have to post it in order for it to become permanent record.
Yep, and then...
If you just save it, it just sits out there.
Correct. So you don't actually have to hit save. You can just go straight to post. It'll save it and then post it.
And when it posts it, it will still give it a record number.
Yep, exactly. So, and then it'll actually be hitting your GL accounts. And you'll...
When you save it, if you wanted to pull it back up and re-edit it or change it, you still have the opportunity to do that because you haven't posted it yet?
Yeah, you can. Yep, you can change it at that point in time when it's just saved. But because once it's posted, if I try and go down in here, it's not going to actually let me do any of this.
Right.
Because it is posted. Well, there's some things that it will let me change once it's posted. More or less, though, like the numbers in the account, it will not. But the nice thing is now you can see it has the unpost button. So if I messed up something, I can hit unpost and go, oh, well, this is actually supposed to be, this account. Post it back, and there you go. Post and unpost, and you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and so some people are like, okay, well, if you can unpost it post, then how do I track, what happened? Well, there is a good way here then is the audit log is going to show us all of our changes. I think I might have gone over this the other day, but it's going to show us that we changed the account ID from 2420 to 192, and so we'll have that, and it'll tell us who did that. So there is safeguards there, for the unpost and post.
And that is under that reallocation or no?
That was just under the audit log, this tab right here.
Audit log, right. Okay.
Yep, and you'll see that on a lot of records. So, now that we've entered a journal entry, and we made one out of a duplicate, but it's the, same idea as if we would have just typed it all in. We can also export a journal entry. Oops, let's do this now. So I selected all of them and then hit export, and we'll let it go for a sec. There we go.
Where are you exporting it to?
It's going to export by default to your downloads folder. So if you go into here, Google's always going to just drop it here in this downloads folder unless you tell it otherwise. So there, we could see this is what it just created. It created a CSV file, which when opened in Excel is going to be able, you could just open this in Excel and it's going to give you all of this, information.
So that would only be if you wanted to use it like in an Excel spreadsheet, but it's not exporting it into the general ledger. I mean, it's already in the iRely system, right? I mean, it's part of our records now, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. And so the export is used to take data that's in the system and pull it out. And then the import is used to take data that's out of the system and put it in. So we have this file that we exported. And for an example, now say we wanted to import. So people use this import, on occasion. You might get files from other systems that might, it'll give you a journal entry and then you just have to import it. So, you can hit import. Up here, we'll go on here and import, and we're going to just pull that same journal entry that we just pushed out. We're going to pull it back in. So what I did is just hit import, hit browse, found my file, hit import, and it's going to tell me it successfully posted it. So it's going to bring it in for me, post it, do everything, and it's going to tell me I can click there, and it's actually just going to say, look, we have this entry that we just posted. So that's the process of importing and exporting. Now, one of the other reasons, the things that the export is used for is that you can get the format of the import, what it needs to look like before you can bring it back in. We have it on our help documents. You can get the format, but if you're just sitting here in the general ledger, sometimes it's faster and easier just to export it, and then you can look and see, make the connections of what information you need to change. Okay, and so now you see on the grid we have this one that I imported journal that I just brought in, and then this other one that we just typed in manually.
Hey, now Cody, question.
Yes.
If you went to import something, say somebody sent you an Excel spreadsheet and they wanted this entry to be put into our records, if they used if they used expense account numbers that were foul, that were not our expense account numbers, would the system stop you and say, hey, this doesn't it doesn't line up, or I don't know exactly what word I'm looking for, but in other words, would it let you know that that's an invalid number?
Yeah, let's just try, I'm guessing that that's an invalid number. So I just adjusted the file that I had. So here's an example of what would happen. The other way we can get to the import is we can just hit this import GL from CSV. It's the same thing. You can just get it to two different places. So now I'm going to try and import it, and it's going to say failed.
Okay, good.
Yep,
okay.
and it'll say column account ID is not an existing account. Then you can just go back into your file and find that one, and then that's your issue.
Okay. The reason that I asked that question is we haven't had it recently, but I know it was either last year or the year before. There was an account number, and it came over in the interface, something that was done in the grain contracts, but it was an account number that did not exist. And General Ledger would not let me post it until it was corrected. So, I just want to make sure that we still have that same fail-safe.
Yeah, and we'll get into, too, in a little bit, the interface, what it's called something different in I-21, but it's the same idea, the interface journal entries. We'll get into that, and the same thing will happen if you have an invalid account, it'll tell you that's an invalid account. So that's really nice. So on this screen, the only thing really to go back over is a little bit of framework, so something you'll see throughout the system. I'm going to just check mark these 5 entries. I'm going to hit open. And you can see it popped up one window for me, but down at the bottom here, we have page 1 of 5. So I can just go through all my journal entries. It's kind of similar in some respects to, the arrows in Origin. You got the arrows to move through your different items then. So that's nice there. And then, and then we went over the Details tab and what that does. You'll start to see Details tab. We'll actually see another one here soon. And it's going to, they're going to be throughout, and they're really basically just, okay, we have an overview tab, and this is just the high-level information, and then we have the detail information on there. So now we're going to go to GL Account Detail. This screen does a lot of different things. So this is where you're going to inquire your accounts, and it's where you're going to maintain your chart of accounts.
Okay, so look, the GL, I'm looking on this RLI overview page to see if we don't have the same layout.
GL account detail.
Yeah, I was just looking for it on my notes so I could make a note. But GL account detail is what I would go to for inquiry.
Yep, for your inquiry and if you're making your accounts. So one thing that I'll say here first is once we do the conversion, we are only making accounts in I-21. We're only building accounts in I-21.
We don't build accounts that often.
Okay, yeah. And
Very good.
so,
but we don't do it very often.
No.
Yeah.
But everything that's in Origin will be pulled over.
Right, yeah. So say we make a new account, and I'll show you when we get to that point. We'll make a new account in I-21, and it'll be in Origin. So you could use it in, say, Ag, even though we just made it in I-21. The thing is that if you make it in Origin, it doesn't come over to I-21. So when you try an interface, you'll get an error. So we just want to make sure that we're going to just do everything in I-21.
Maintenance is done in I-21.
Yep, exactly. So the first item of maintenance is you'll see that we've got this link right here. If I hover over it, it underlines. If you actually click the link, if you click at other places, it'll be different. But if you just actually click this link, it's going to pull up this screen. This screen is going to allow us to change the name of the account. So this is just the description. We'll just do, so we could change the description of the account. And then we also have, this is where we can inactivate accounts, so then you can't post to them, but they still are out there. And we can set up units of measure. I don't want it on there, but we'll just, this is where we could set that up. Currency, which that should just be USD. And, for the cash flow, that would be for FRD. But the system, and then the last thing, the system account is for, say we have a cash account, this is going to be automatically highlighted when we do the full conversion because the system account is locked down to a certain degree of how you can actually make entries to it.
Cody, we are not changing account numbers, correct?
Correct. No, so the account numbers should be... What?
I said, thank you, Jesus.
Okay, good.
I went through this with the company I worked with prior, and they made us change all the account numbers, and it was a literal nightmare. Now,
there was something that and I have to look back, and I was trying to understand what needed to happen because there was something that when we went to do the cash management conversion, we ran into an issue because of the accounts. And let's see.
Yeah, there was a cash account that was for trucking that we hadn't used for 15 years, and we had to get rid of that account number.
Yeah, because you see it's a cash account and expense. So other than that, though, I don't think there's any problems there.
No, I don't think there will be.
So, so the one thing, let's go back onto here. This units right here, I'm just going to show you. Actually, let's do something let's get
If
some.
you do a corn, it might show units.
Yeah, so we'll do.
Use a corn one.
Yeah, so I'm going to choose this drop down, and you can see how this is blue, and then when I go over it, it's orange. So that means that I can click it. So I'm going to click it. What it's going to do is it's going to list out all my units, and it's going to tell me this is my conversion. So this is where you would set up, conversions. You could set up, anything else, but they're going to come over from origin and going to be on your accounts that need it. So this is petty cash.
Good. I like that.
Yeah, so we'll see. Let's go back over here. Here's a good way. Unit. So we'll find unit, and we're going to filter it, and I'm going to say unit is not blank. And some of those must be space. Yes. There we go. So actually, it's only bringing over, well, we got that one. Corn storage, Denny's. So it's going to bring over any of them that it had to begin with. So maybe there might be some of those that you'll have to go in there and change. The units are for reporting only. So when we do the account inquiry, it's going to show us just raw units. So we'll go in here to the transactions. So this is going to be like our detail tab from the general journals. It's going to have every single transaction. Where this tab differs is once you have more transactions in I-21, or let me say this a bit better, more modules in I-21. So in the detail tab in general journals, it's only going to give you the list out the details of journal entries. On this one, it's literally going to be every single transaction that's hit your general ledger. That's what this tab does. And so you'll be able to go through here and see all your journal entries. This is another place that you can make some, nice reports, find, details of things. And then you could just drill, you could double click it and it's going to bring up this screen that for that account. So that's what, this is really nice actually. Oops. You can do a lot of reporting here and, you can see, again, it was like you could search and do like filter for anything that's hit 502-04 and you could just, export it or something. That's one way of inquiring on your accounts. The other way, let's just go back into here, is double click anywhere but this link. So we'll just double click here. And that's going to bring up this screen. And on this screen, you'll see that we have an opening balance and then a from date and a to date. This is going to default to this period, the period that you're currently in. But we can just put in here, let's just do that, to, the same date. So it's going to tell us our opening balance, our ending balance, and all the transactions that got us from that opening to the ending. Down through here, we'll be able to see all these, and we can actually see, okay, this is from AP 7925 and 7925. I can check mark it, hit open, and some of these are going to, on the conversions, they're going to not have the drill down. As you move forward and bring more things from origin, you're going to be able to click this and hit open, and it'll actually bring up the origin screen that created it once you've done your conversion. So
now, Cody, you said that once the general ledger is being converted this week, and that we will have to, once we're told that it's finalized, we can only go in through the I-21 to enter things in general ledger, correct?
Correct. There might be some abilities, and we'll have to work on locking those down to get into the old general ledger, but you do not want to do anything in the old general ledger. You don't want to post anything. You definitely do not want to interface journal entries. You don't want to build accounts. Right. We just want to pretty much not, get in there at all.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There will
yet,
Cody,
but
on
since
that,
the AP, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cheryl.
I'm going to say, but yet, if the accounts payable is in the origin, if I come into the I-21 for general ledger, will I be able to see the AP information for the, in the new format, even though the AP is still in the old origin format?
Yep. So you'll
Am
just
I
scroll.
saying it right?
Yeah, you'll just scroll down here. You'll look for this icon that is the origin icon, and you'll go to accounts payable.
Okay.
You could just go in here and then do checkbook inquiry, and it's going to pull up the same screen.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
So you'll just want to use it from here. Honestly, that's
Right.
the easiest. So we'll just do that. That's good. And
okay, and we are going to get a link on our desktop for the I-21, correct?
correct.
I have Cody gave me the directions on that, so he just updated me with something this morning. I'm going to work on that this afternoon, make sure it's foolproof, and then send those directions over to you.
Okay.
Oh, you mean you're not going to come here and do it for us, Betsy?
I am more than happy to come here.
All right.
I'm not an enabler. You can ask my children. I like to give them a fishing pole, not a fish, if possible. So
yeah, it's with the instructions, it's really not too hard. It'll be
okay.
so.
But I mean, honestly, I want to let you guys try it because I want you to build your confidence in what you're doing. But I can always shoot on over, so not to worry.
Yeah.
But on that, I do have a question, Cody. So we're still, I'm still a little bit in a holding pattern on setting up the user roles because I wanted to get that verification from you of the, the nomenclature between the different databases. Cheryl, for Cheryl's purposes, she will be the first employee, correct, that will always be logging into the new dashboard. The other folks, until they have a big component of their work moved into SQL, will they be doing business as usual? Or do I need to step this up with them in X number of days in terms of just making sure that their icon is correct on their desktop?
You're fine to they can get in through this screen. We can, if yourself, Cheryl, and Jan are going to be the only ones in the general ledger. We can,
Jerry.
Or Jerry. Then those four can be logging in through here and accessing this, and then anybody else that say is just doing grain and ag. They could just do this, and they don't, they can go in their normal way. Really, to them, nothing will change. They won't even know that anything would change unless you tell them. So
to confirm, I would say by tomorrow, I'm going to want to make sure Jerry, Jan, and Cheryl have the updated icon in the system, and I will need to have set their user roles appropriately, probably within the next 24 hours or so. Correct?
Yeah, those are the ones you need to focus on.
Okay, I can do that. And when they actually do a drop down for the login, they're no longer, can you show us a screen so they know what location they're going to use? They're not using test environment anymore, so I want them to be familiar with that. And,
yes.
And do their passwords and usernames stay the same?
Yes, they will. So it'll be the same username, same password. There'll be a drop down, and it'll say a 1 or
1.
Yeah, so
end of month, right?
Yeah,
we were able to do the end of month.
No, but I have to have that LC one. That's
yes.
LLC. That's where I do it.
Is
there an LLC one? I didn't see that.
This is just your test environment. I don't have the live environment, but I have a TC, which looks like your it's
a LLC. That's it. The TC.
So it's not in SQL yet, I was going to say, but it'll be, you'll have, if you have two companies, there'll be a drop down, they'll have two of them, and, you'll just type in, you'll just choose the 01, or you can always just hit 01 and then hit enter, And so like here, for an example, what I always do is I get done with my password, I just type tab, and then I go TE, and then hit enter once, and then hit enter again, and it'll sign me in if I type my password right.
All right, so,
and
so
Cody,
that
you did say we will have end of month option, right?
Yes, end of month will be available.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Betsy, go ahead.
That's okay, but all that will happen after I get user roles set, because we need to make sure nothing flips until I've got that set up appropriately, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct? Is that right, Cody? And I will, I'll work on that this afternoon, but I need that deliverable back from you before I can finish that up.
Yeah, and I have it completed. I'll just send it to you. I was just getting some feedback from other people to make sure that, on some of the other ones that we're good on it. So actually, I think I have a couple changes from an email I've looked at this morning. So,
one more question on that, please. When I'm logging into the iRely test environment right now, when I'm making those users roles correct, I'm not going to be doing that in test environment. I'm going to be doing that in 01, right?
Correct. And the thing is that 01 is not in SQL yet. It's in Vision, so we can't install. I can't, install I-21 in live until we convert to SQL, and then we convert, install that. So until then, the setting up of the users.
Well, done.
We can't really use it.
How long? Are you saying how long until we can use it, or?
No, it's more like a chicken and the egg. I need to set up their user roles before they actually start working on the system. But when I try to sign into I-21,
you have to wait for him to do
I have to wait for you because I only have access to the test environment right now.
Right, because the live environment does not exist, for I-21. So I was checking with that, and I was, reading the email. So I'm going to talk to Greg, who's going to do the SQL conversion, find out when he can do that, and at that point in time, he'll convert to SQL. He'll install I-21 on the server, and then, we can move forward. We can have it installed and converted, whenever we'd like. And that's not going to have to, we don't have to install it and then do a conversion. We can install it. You can go day to day, same how you're doing it for, a week, and you'll be fine.
Cody, you're losing me. I need to have access to the permanent environment so I can set the user roles up. How will I do that?
You will get that once we convert to SQL, and then once we install the I-21 onto the server. Until we have this I-21 on the server, we can't, that environment doesn't exist. So
all this stuff with GL isn't going to happen until after I do that. So again, I'm just
do theirs.
Yeah, I'm just looking for dates. So date 1 is that you guys create the I-21 environment. Process 2 is I create the user roles. Process 3 is the icon goes on to their desktop. Process 4 is they start using the new username and login and that dashboard. So what I'm not clear on, I can tell you, I'm not clear on item number 1.
Okay, so you're not on the whole environment setup and install?
Well, what you're telling me is I can't set up the permanent user roles until you all put I-21, until you make the I-21 environment live, correct?
Correct, because the thing is that, we're still in Vision. We're in a Vision database. We can't, there is a program that needs to be installed, which is I-21 on the server. This Vision database does not support I-21, so that data needs to be converted from one type of database to another type of database.
Cody, you're talking geek speak. You got to stop for a second. All I need to know is when is I-21, when is all that geeky stuff going to happen so that I can create the user roles that I need to do for us to go on to step level 3 and level 4?
That I have to find out when that's available. The thing is that if you want this, we can do it during the day anytime, but it's going to take your system completely down. So scheduling at night.
That's a no. That's a no. That's a no.
And
we're not pushing you, Cody. We're just trying to understand the time frame. Cheryl made the comment that the general ledger stuff is going to be live this week. If you guys haven't got...
I only said that because that was what was in the email
I hear you.
to us. I
hear you. So what I need from you, we don't have to go through it right now, is I just need the timeline. I need the timeline that this on this night, we're going to take the system down to do the conversion. The next day, Betsy, you can set up those user roles and the icon. And then the day after that, that's when the gals are going to start using the new dashboard for their login. Does that make sense? And it sounds like I'm losing you, so maybe I don't have it right.
No, those are the steps, and I just don't have a definite timeline for you guys on that. Like, I have to find out when that's going to be available to do the SQL conversion.
Oh, that's fine. If you can just communicate that with me. So Cheryl and Jan, this is all just playing around in a sandbox. So you don't need to worry about that this week at this point, and I'll keep you posted on the timing, okay?
Yeah,
that sounds
good. Good to me.
Actually, Betsy, even if the conversion doesn't take place until, like, if they do it over the weekend when nobody's here, and then we go live next week even, it's not a problem because we're in the midst of closing out the financials for the fiscal year. So
what day would be preferable for you guys?
Actually, next week would be preferable for me to go live for general ledger.
Weekend. But when you say weekend, is this going to affect grain because they are open for?
No, that's not. None of this not a module. No, it's only general ledger that's being converted first.
So,
that's all they're trying to convert.
All right. So your perspective is sometime next week. If you could open up your desktop when you show up in the morning, and it's the new icon, and you click on it, and the skies open up, and it's all pretty dashboard. That's okay with you?
It's okay with me if we stay the way we are right now. I'm just saying, Betsy, there's no real, I'm not pushing for it. There's no real pressure right now, okay?
Upgrading platforms are like organ transplants. They eventually have to happen. There's never a good time. I hear you. That's why I'm here to support as much as I can. All right, Cody, well, I didn't mean to take you off track too much. I'll wait to hear from you on that timing, and then Jan and Cheryl, I'll communicate it with you guys to make sure you're okay with it.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good.
Cody, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and I appreciate you showing me about the dashboard and everything.
Oh, no worries.
Every little bit helps.
Yep. So, oops, I'm in the wrong environment. It's like, what? Okay. So we're back here, and what I want to go over kind of is these. You'll see these. We have account groups, account categories, account types. I want to go over that because it's a little bit different than the structuring in Origin. The account type is the most general, the categorization kind of the accounts. It's going to be asset, asset, liability, equity, expense, and revenue. Those five, it's one of those five. The category is going to be something, it's going to be your system accounts. It's going to be a cash account, so your bank account that you reconcile. It's going to be your AP account, your AR account, your inventory, some of the inventory accounts. Those are going to be categories because they, they're locked down. And one thing to note is that if it's a category other than general, we can't just make a journal entry. We can't just go in here and do a general journal and hit that account. The example I like to show for that is, the cash account. So say, we want to affect our cash account, but, and we try and do a journal entry. So we do a journal entry for $100. We can't, and we wouldn't be able to reconcile to the general ledger account because you'd have this entry for $100 to hits the general ledger.
Didn't go through your checkbook.
Right, exactly. So that's why we can't hit it. So same with AP. We want to balance to the open payables report. Right. If we make a journal entry, where, out of luck on trying to balance to that, we could. So
Or
that's,
accounts receivable.
yep, exactly. Accounts receivable is really big. So
Okay.
that's what these categories do. Account groups are for reporting. I'll kind of show more on that during the FRD. It really just basically, you could go in here and make these groups, and you could say these are all cash accounts, and then you've got your current assets. When you make a report, you can then go, okay, cash accounts. I just want this line to be all my cash accounts. Show me all the balance in my cash accounts. So that's what the grouping is. It's really only for reporting. So with that said, I'm going to show you how to create an account. So the first thing is we're going to hit this segments. This is going to bring up all of our primary accounts, just those first 5 digits. So you'll see all these are just the first 5 digits. You've assigned the group category type on it. You're going to hit insert. So let's just do an account, then we'll type in 5 numbers. We're just going to say wash expense, give it a name, and we're going to give it a group, and we're just going to go with expense for this one. You'll actually note that the we have a we'll do expense. You have a lot of different groups that you could choose from, and then we're going to choose the account category, and we're going to make it a general. When you notice when I chose this group, it made a type. So the type and the group are connected. So if it's an expense group, it has to be an expense type. If it's a current assets group, it's got to be an asset, that sort of thing. So now we have just this primary account built. We're going to hit save. That didn't actually make an account. We can't just go make a journal entry right now. We just have a primary account. We've got this location here, our dash whatever, and we've got, we can add a location here if we want, or we can just use a location we've already got, our profit center, whatever you want to call that, those 2 digits at the end. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this build button. This build button is what's going to allow me to pick a primary, pick a location, and turn them into a full account. So let's find my 999 account. I'm going to check mark it. And I'm going to go over here and I say I want this at location 00, location 04, location 07. I'm going to hit build. And it's going to say, hey, we're going to build these 3 accounts. Here's 3, it's going to say there's a total of 3. And then you're going to say, yeah, I like these accounts. So you're going to hit commit. And if you don't like them, you just hit close and go back. So yep, we created our accounts. Let's close out of here. Close out of here. And now if we choose 999, we've got our 3 accounts. Now we can use them. Now here's an example too. So now say we've got, it's 3 weeks down the road now. We've already made these accounts. Now we realize that we want this in location 03. We don't have to go build that segment again because it's already there. So we'll just hit build. Come back in here, we'll do 999. Hit this, hit location 3, hit build again. Okay, it's our 1 account, that looks good to me. We'll hit commit, and we're good to go. So that's how we're going to build accounts. And
it overlaid that. It didn't add an 03 in addition.
It created an 03.
So the 04 is still there. Okay.
Yep. So let's
Most you just don't want to use one of them. You hit it in there or put it in there.
Oh, you don't like it? Like say you put in one that you
don't really want 04 location. You just want an 03.
So let's just go to
creating a new one.
Yep. So let's just go back here. If you do that and you catch it early and there's no transactions in it, we're going to go in here and this 04. So we realize we don't like 04. We don't need it. We'll come in here and hit delete. Yep. And
okay, what did you hit before that? That screen.
I just hit the link. So it's back on that screen that if you just hit the number on the account. So if I double click over here,
oh, okay.
No good. If I click on this right here, that link, we're good to go.
Okay.
And you can delete it.
But you can't delete it once there's history in there.
Correct. Yeah. So that's, since we just made it, we're all, we're good to do that, but we can't, let once that's so. Okay.
Okay, undo. I saw undo there. That wouldn't have worked.
Where did we? Oh, on here. That would just be
Mhm.
for undoing something on here.
Comment or something.
Yeah. So like, undo there. So also Control Z works just like you're in Word. You can just type in something and hit Control Z. So up here we'll go through some of these. The generate names. So what that does is, so you remember we were talking about, I could go in here and I could just type in -1.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, the primary account is not called Cash Drawer Preston Store -1. It's just Preston Store and Petty Cash. What regenerate names does is it's going to go through your whole list chart of accounts, and it's going to regenerate them based on the name of the profit center and the name of the primary account with a dash between the two. That's what that does. So just so you're aware of what that does, you might not want to do that just because, again, you're going to...
I'm thinking
That's a little scary. That's a little scary.
Exactly. So that's why I was saying, that's what that is. So you're not curious to try it, but that is something you can do. The clone profit center is what we could do is, say you made a new profit center and we want to basically build all the exact same accounts from one location to another. So Y Mills to location 3. So this is where it's coming from, and then, or location 13. You hit hit clone, and it's going to create all of those accounts for you. That's really nice when you have like a ton of expense accounts or something like that in that location, and you can just clone them over, but it will create all of them.
Actually, I'm thinking if we purchased another grain elevator and say that it was in Easton, then in order to have all those same expense accounts, that's when you could clone it with the new location number. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of situation you would use it in, 100%. So, yeah, it wouldn't probably be used until a situation like that where you make a new profit center.
Right.
And then the only thing here for, that the setup on the conversions was just that one account that we need to take off the checkbook. I think it was this account, one of these two accounts.
It was the one that had the 09.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so see, it came over as a cash account, but which that really AP doesn't like when it's an expense type in a cash account. So that's what ended up happening. Then
that 980-09, you can kill that if you need to.
Okay, so that we don't really need. What about that whole checkbook?
The whole checkbook we don't need anymore for that 09.
So we could probably, if we need to, without deleting it, we could probably just make some account and put it on that checkbook that's actually an asset, just to make it so it comes over, and then we can just deactivate it, is what I would recommend. Just because, if we bring it over with those, put all the transactions on it with that bank account, it'll be, that's when it'll bark at us. So,
because I was going to say, I don't want to kill everything that's got an 09 location because we need it, expenses and so forth. But I don't know why that washout account trucking has, when you scroll over, it says cash account. I don't understand that.
That was part of the conversion.
Okay.
So it knew that it was part of a checkbook, so it became a cash account. Okay. So that's what happens. That it automatically is going to know what we need to put on there. So we're not going to kill the account. We just need to change the checkbook setup so that it doesn't think that account's on there.
Okay.
So that'll just be, that's going to help us more for the AP conversion. But if we want to get, it's nice to get it, going ahead of time so that, we can make sure the GL is set up correctly.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to go over here to batch posting, which is something that happens a lot in Origin. We do the batch posting. In I-21, not so much. It's up to you if you want to use it. There's some times where it's really nice. What it's going to do is when you hit batch posting, if there was anything unposted, it's going to list them out right here. You're going to have all your journal entries that are unposted here. Then you could, you'll be able to hit select all, or you could check mark like 10 of them, hit post, and it'll post them all at once. What's nice though is, we talked about earlier, you can just post single entries. So you could type it in and you can post it. So there's some situations where this batch posting becomes nice is when, say, somebody's going to enter a bunch of entries and then somebody else is going to double check that they made the right entries, and then they're going to actually post them once they've double checked them. That's where the batch posting can come into play. So it's just going to pull up saved entries that aren't posted in General Ledger. The same, you'll see this batch posting throughout, other modules too, that will allow you to do it like this. So if you go to Common Info, I'll just show you too. There's a batch posting there that would show any unposted transactions throughout the system, and it's going to work the exact same. Okay, so these import GL from subledgers is the next item, which I really like to emphasize a lot because you do interface journal entries, from subledgers in Origin. You bring them in from grain or ag or something like that. This is the exact same thing.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't separate them. Right now in Origin, when you do an interface, it pulls over everything that's out there in that period.
And that's what this is going to do as well. It doesn't matter what module, it's going to bring them in. And if you see there's nothing in these drop-downs right now, there's nothing to bring in. If there was something out there, it would say fiscal year 2016 period 1.
Okay.
And then you'd be able to hit import, and it's going to import your, everything that's out there. So,
okay, so import GL from subledger is actually the same as our current interface.
Yep. And
okay.
How often do you guys do that?
I try to do an interface once a week.
Okay, cool. That sounds good.
Just once a month in the LC.
Yeah, and there's not a, I would say you'd at least want to do it once a month. But, I wouldn't do it any less often, but you could do it daily. So, once you've imported it, it's going to pull up that log. Remember how we had that log earlier and it had that entry that failed?
Mm-hmm.
When you pull in the import GL from subledger, you're going to see something like this. It's going to have probably a lot more posted and, no failed, but there could be, one failed that had like an invalid GL account because if you make a GL account in Origin. So.
And you need to go back in and fix that before, you can't just leave that failed out there or it's not going to pull into your information for the month.
Correct. And depending on the error, let's look at a different one of these. Depending on the error, it might come in here and you'll see record. It'll be like, oh, transaction failed, record number GJ-15. Well, it might have failed it came in, but it didn't post, but it's still sitting out there for you to fix. And you need to post it or else you're not going to have the right numbers.
Right. Okay.
So you can just drill into it and find the account number. So that's how you're going to look at it. These import logs are, really nice for that because if you did have a failed one, you're going to want to go back and fix it. So.
But the import logs is from outside of the system. They are not, the subledgers are your AP, your grain, your accounts receivable. all those are subledgers within the company. Import is something from outside of the IRLI.
Yeah, so the logs for both of those situations are going to be here. So if you're bringing it from
Right.
outside the system in, it's going to make a log here. If you're bringing it from
Okay.
within the system, it's going to make a log here. So
Okay.
this GL import logs, I mean, it's not something you're going to go into daily, but sometimes it is really helpful to see what came in.
Okay.
And it will automatically post when you bring it in from subledger unless there's an error. Okay, so let's see what's next. We went over the import GL from CSV earlier. That's just bringing it in from the outside of the system. And
what does CSV stand for?
It's a comma separated values, comma separated.
Oh, that's right.
I think I said that right. It's these files. You can open them in Excel, but you can see that it's like every cell is at a comma. So yeah, that's what the CSV. It's
that's
a file type.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So fiscal year. So we were talking about this earlier, your period setup. So we've got all these years, and it's kind of similar to fiscal year maintenance. I believe is the screen in Origin. It's going to list out all of your fiscal years and what their to from date are, and the period name and everything your retained earnings as well.
Okay.
So
can you click off that box and go back to the previous one?
This one right here?
The screen. No, the whole screen.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah. So in other words, only 2016 and 2017 are open. That's good. So
yep.
All those others mean that they have been closed.
And you cannot post into them.
Correct.
Yep.
That's what. Yeah. Okay. That's good.
So, when I open this up, you can also see that we have all of these modules and they say open. Well, and you can close periods. So closing a period or closing a year. In I-21, all it does is it makes it so you can't post into it. That's all it does is what it is.
Right.
So we could go in here, and this only really affects I-21. So say you're in I-21 in AP, you could close it so nobody could do anything in AP, but you could still make your month-end journal entries because GL is open. If we just go in here and close GL, though, we're going to close everything. So you could.
Because I was going to say, in Origin, sometimes I've had periods closed, and something was done in AP, and it's still posted to a closed period, and I don't understand how that can happen.
Yeah, in I-21, it's going to be, it's going to be locked down. If you close the general ledger, nothing can get posted in that period.
Okay, so then, good. So in other words, in I-21, if December 15 is closed, and somebody goes in AP and enters the wrong date and tries to post it, the system will not let that.
Right. I'll show you.
Will it come over as a failed entry?
Oops, I didn't mean to duplicate it. I'll show you what it does because, let's make sure this is saved. So December 2015, right? Okay, so now if we went in here and we tried to go I tried to go in 12/31/2016 and post, 20, I was going to say, man, it shouldn't have let me do that. That's right, 2015. It's going to throw an error when we try and post it. So I guess it's unable to find an opening accounting period. It's going to give me two errors, but if there was something in it, unable to find, so it wouldn't let you post in there. Also, if you look in here, you'd be able to, select it, but then it wouldn't be able to, post into there. So.
Okay.
And so if that, and there, so there are situations where you might, somebody puts in the wrong date in ag, and then it, comes over to I-21, and it's going to say, it's going to come over as unposted, and it's going to say there's not an open period. You're going to have to decide what to do with it to get it posted. If it is one of those things like, we just closed May, but it really needs to be in May, you could just go in here and open up, post
Right.
it, and then close it again.
Yeah. That's
So
what we do now.
yeah, so you can open and close these. Now, one thing I like to
But
talk
not once the year's been closed. Once the fiscal year's been closed, you can't go back into it.
we actually, if you open it, if you have the rights to open it, so let's just do 2015, you can open it and post back into it and then close it. You know, there are only certain situations where that should be, allowed, but it does allow you to do that. So, and now this is like a time that I like to go over retained earnings because of how we handle it differently in I-21 than we did in Origin. In Origin, it would, do that. It would do the process to roll up all your expense and revenue into your retained earnings account when you close the year. In I-21, we don't. When you close the year, like I said, that just says you can't post into it. We know what your fiscal year setup is. We know that it ended at 5/31. So when you run a report, so say you run your balance sheet for 6/30, it's going to know, okay, well, we ended the year a month ago, roll all that revenue and expense up and put it into our retained earnings. And it's also, going to cut off, your net profit and loss is going to be in there as well. So, and it's going to know, okay, well, we're just starting that from June 1st. So we don't, that's all dynamically done. So say you're not done closing the year today, but you want to run your balance sheet for the end for June, you can run it and you're going to get the correct balance sheet as of, the numbers that are in there because it dynamically knows, okay, well, the end of the year is already passed. You don't have to close it. Does all that make sense? It's a little bit different. So.
Well, I was going to say my only question is because when the auditors will have final journal entries. So what you're saying is with I-21, right now we could come in and look at May 31st books, and you're saying all the expense would be rolled up into the retained earnings account for our new period of June?
Yep. So yeah, and then so say you ran your
But
balance.
we would still be able to go in there and change any entries that need to be made for the audit, and then will it roll that into retained earnings for the new year?
Correct. Yep. So if you let's say you ran your balance sheet today, and then you get an audit and they want to change some of your expense and revenue accounts, you put those entries in, you run your balance sheet again, your numbers, your retained earnings is going to be different. And you didn't have to do anything other than run your balance sheets and input the audit adjustments. So.
Okay.
Yep. So they, and in the financial report designer, I'll show you how that's done. But yeah, it is a nice feature to do that so that you're not, you can open and close things a lot easier, and you don't have to finish your books, right away. So I know some people are, if they end in the end of May, then they'll probably be done with their books in like August. But you want to keep being able to run your reports. So. Okay. So the next thing is reallocations. I'll just go over this. So we'll just do expense, or let's just do different. Wow, I can't spell today.
How did you even come to this reallocation page? Where'd you get, what was the previous?
I just hit the reallocations over here on this left menu.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So this is the one way to get to it, and then I'll show you the other way. What a reallocation does is you're probably kind of familiar with this in the AP side of things. With invoices, you'll be able to say you would go in here and you would type in, you have these tables set up and you'd say, okay, we want to do $100 and we want to split it up these 5 different locations. That's kind of what this will do. So I'll just show you. Okay, so yeah, there we go. We'll do this one, and we'll say we're going to dump everything we're going to make, you know, when we do invoices, we're always just going to drop, you know, like let's just say we get our electrical bill for every single location all rolled up into one. So we're always just going to drop it into there. So now when it's, you know, we want to, actually let's do this. We want to leave some in there. Okay, this should, one more. And when I do it, it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay. So we'll save that. So we dump everything into that one account that we're, you know, the one location. Then, you know, say at the end of the month, we want to make a journal entry. So we'll make a new journal entry that will move that to the correct locations. And I made a really small reallocation table. You can make a big one, you know, and reallocate it. We're going to hit this reallocation button up here. We're going to type in, do our name of different locations. We're going to enter an amount, say our total bill that month was $5,000, and we'll hit OK. So it's going to say, okay, well, we want to pull 80% of that out, and we're going to distribute it this way to these accounts because that's, you know, that's how we want our expenses broken up to do, you know, say your locational P&Ls. That's what the reallocations are used for in general ledger. You can do you know, that was just an example of a situation. I'm sure there's other situations you can think of that you can use that for. You know, a lot of times it has to do with breaking it out to different locations. But so does that all make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so on the reports down here, we have this extra folder of reports, and it's going to have these two reports. And let me choose trial balance. I'm going to just hit the trial balance detail, which could be similar to the trial balance in Origin if you press that show detail button or check mark. This is going to be the screen. This is going to be something you're going to see, and it's going to work the same throughout other modules, how you're going to run a report. What you're going to do is go in here and say, okay, so I want a trial balance, and I want my date. So we're going to type in date, post date, between, it's a good one, so 03/01/2016 and 03/31/2016. And I think, you know, let's just do account ID. So we only want the accounts between, let that load, this account, and say that account. And so now we're going to say, okay, we want these specific items. You could just leave this account ID off and, you know, do the post date by itself, but I wanted to kind of limit it down so it's not such a big report. So I'm going to hit preview.
I'm going to say usually I go in here and I am account specific.
Okay, you are. And, you know, on these reports, you know, they're nice for certain things, but I like to highlight the exporting of grids because the exporting of grids is always going to be faster, and you know, there's a lot more manipulation. You can choose the columns, you can, you know, move the columns around. I don't know if I didn't like that. You know, I move the columns around, and you know, you can do a whole lot more with it than, you know, this is going to be, okay, just show me these accounts, and it's always going to be in this format. Okay, there we go. And it's going to load. And I just mostly want to show you this for the controls on the report. But yeah, it's, you know, this,
while it's loading, Cody,
Yeah.
the people who don't have access to General Ledger won't even have that left-hand side of the screen, so they won't even have the option to come in here and try any of this.
Correct. Yeah, they won't have General Ledger. They won't have anything, that they don't have.
Right.
They don't. They're not supposed
Right.
to access.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
this is going to be our report in that
Okay.
time period, and it's going to looks pretty similar to what you've seen before. And
Okay.
what I want to show is printing. And I kind of talked to, said in an email, Betsy, I don't know, well, no, I haven't sent that one with the roles and stuff, is that the printing is different in I-21. We don't have like that whole setup of printer in the system. And what we're just doing is we're hitting this print button, and it's going to bring up the Google printing. So basically, if you have a printer that you can print out of Word or Excel or you just normally print anything off your computer, it's going to just work here. You might have to go in here and hit change. This is, the server, the printer's there.
Okay, so if I hit change, then I can send it to the printer that I want.
Yep, and then you're going to have a preview, and you can just hit print, and it'll print it. So,
Okay.
And what you'll see is here we've got the print current page. It's just, you can print all of it or print one page. These.
No, wait, did two of them say print the current page? What's the far left one? What was that when you clicked on it?
This one?
Oh, display. Well,
yeah, this is going to be. Yeah, that's the search, but then this is the print every single page.
Print. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we have these buttons over here. We have their export buttons. One is just a single page, and one is this, just everything. There's multiple different options here. What ones I recommend are PFD or PDF, CSV, or XLS, or XLS, either one of these Excel files. If you're going to put it into Excel and you're going to want to actually do things with the data, you're going to want to do CSV. It seems kind of counterintuitive to you think, oh, well, I'm going to put in Excel. I want this Excel file. The Excel file is going to keep all these, like this formatting, and make it look the exact same as you see on the screen, which makes it hard to deal with in the, in Excel. You can, sum up columns or anything. CSV file is just very plain data. It's just data, so you can just kind of, sum things up. So when you're exporting, I always recommend CSV if you're exporting a report. That's what I use always. So, when I'm trying to export a report and check, validate numbers or something. So, and I have archived the report, and I probably shouldn't put it on here because that's a financial report designer reporting mechanism to archive the reports. That's on the not on these reports, but on, say, like your balance sheet and stuff. So, and you might see missing just your normal trial balance that just shows your account balances. That is going to be in the financial report designer that we'll go over tomorrow and Wednesday. So, right now, those will be covered. So I didn't want you to think we're missing it. It's just not in general. Yeah. So and I know that that's a big report that everybody likes to use.
Okay.
So.
Does that wrap it up for today, Cody?
Yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, then that's good for the rest of the day then.
Until we start using it.
No, no, that's
working up.
Oh yeah, that's what I understand.
Thank you for your help, and I'll wait to get that timeline from you. That'll make them, understand when D-Day's coming, and we appreciate your help.
Yeah, absolutely. So yep.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right,
Okay,
Cody.
bye-bye.
Bye.